Hello, hello. This is our very first YouTube live. Let me just fix my screen. Sorry. Oh, wow. I was taking a few moments to make sure people got in, but it looks like 4 people are in. So uh, drop your initials and class period. I'm going to take a few minutes to leave comments with our initials and our class period. Let everybody get in the building, and then we're going to get started. Things fall apart, literary analysis. I'm going to go over exit tickets. I'm going to go over themes. I'm going to go over character motivations, and we're going to be all set to fly into the year. And of course, I don't know who it is. Oh, I do know. All right. Well, we're not going to wait that long. So, first things first. So, we've been reading Things Fall Apart. We're going to be reading it with a perspective on culture. So, if you read the back of your book, super simple. It gives you like a brief analysis of what's going on. And what it basically says is that Chinua Achebe has pretty much weaved two particularly interesting tales into one book. First, it's about a fable about conflict between individual and society, right? We're going to see Okonkwo fall from grace. Right now, we're in the first 5 chapters of the book. So we're seeing who he is, how he's respected in his tribe, how he's respected in his society. We're also going to see an eventual fall from grace. So it's going to be really interesting. The second one is more of like a more of a tribal perspective or a minority perspective of the effects of colonialism, the effects of cultural disruption. And there's going to be a destruction of the tribal world with the arrival of the aggressive European missionaries. Now, the European missionaries are actually people that come to the country or to the tribe in this instance to uh, promote peace, Christianity, to bring civilization to an otherwise considered savage society. Yet, the interesting thing about the book is what we're going to find out is that the culture is not that savage, it's not primitive. They already have a very distinct social order, social rank. So, looking at that first chapter at Okonkwo, we noticed that Okonkwo is actually considered to be one of the toughest, strongest men in the whole society, even though he's actually considered to have a father who was a failure. So what we see immediately is that they have a culture of social mobility. Okonkwo gets to decide his own fate, just like Americans, we get to decide our own fate. So we see that primitive society, that stigma being broken down right away. We also notice that they have a democratic system. When it's time to discuss the war, all the elders meet, all the chiefs meet, all the men with titles meet and discuss whether the war will happen. Another issue they have, oh guys, as you check in, make sure you drop your initials and class period in the comment section. And I'm keeping that to get 10 points, to add 10 points to your grade. So as you guys join in, make sure you're dropping your initials and class period. Leave in a comment, sorry. All right, I had to make this sure that was there. All right, so I have some themes here because, like, just like I asked you guys to take notes, I definitely take notes. I'm prepared to like give you the very best. Also, have all the answers to this week's test and exit tickets. So stay tuned. I'm going to provide those as well. Plus, you're all going to get 10 points added to your quiz Monday. So good stuff coming. So first, I want to talk about patriarchy. So we're saying patriarchy again. We saw it in 1000 Suns, and it's coming back up here. And what we know about patriarchy is the idea that men hold the power in the society. However, once again, this Igbo culture, which is the culture we're discussing here, Igbo culture, is very progressive. Some of the women have power too. As we see, Chielo is the oracle. So the oracle is a woman, and they can't make any decisions without Chielo signing off on that position. Now, along with that progressiveness, we also have some different themes here. We're seeing a polytheistic religion. They have multiple gods. They have the oracle, they have an earth goddess, they have a water goddess, they have the elders. So it's a lot of people that they have to respect and pay homage to. Um, and that's one thing that's really distinct about their culture. It's a very, very important idea about respect. If you noticed, as much as they love Okonkwo, when he beats Ikwifi for getting her hair braided, he's ridiculed because he breaks the ritual of peace, the week of peace, which is very sacred. Respect for the week of peace, for the world, meaning their land, their huts, their wives, their children, and especially for their gods, is all going to be a very important part of their culture. Another important theme in this book right now is fear. They have a fear of the dark, a fear of failure. Ikwifi, the wife of the mother of Nzima, she fears loss. And then we have Nwoye, who just fears his dad, right? So everybody is being motivated by fear. So right now, what's important to stamp is that fear is a driving action of many of Okonkwo's failures, actually, right? So when he beats his wife, it's out of fear. When he's yelling at his son and berating his son, that's out of fear. And then when it eventually kills Kim and Fuma, that's out of fear as well. So everything that he does is particularly based on fear. And the interesting thing about this fear is that he really tries to make sure that that fear appears to be fearless. So he's really interested in appearing as if he's not fearful at all. So if you notice, that's going to be a very big tweak in him. So your questions you can ask yourself: how does Okonkwo overcompensate for his fear? And then another question is, what does Okonkwo fear? What are the things that Okonkwo fears most? What things are motivating him to act how he acts? And then consider if his fear as a motivator is always negative, right? Is it always a bad thing? Does his fear drive him to be a wholly horrible person? Is he a bad person? These are some things you can answer right there in the comments if you want to. Or you could just like think about. Let's see. How are we on time? We're doing good. All right. So we have social rank, we have wealth, we have a democratic society, and we have the opportunity for social mobility. So all in all, this is a pretty progressive society. This also breaks up very big stigmas that we hold about Africa. Oftentimes, Africa is depicted as savage, uncivilized, and barbaric. The idea that Chinua Achebe is showing us is a direct reflection of every stigma that we have had being shown to be false. As you're reading this book, he also chronicles a lot of things that tells us about the culture. He really breaks down the food, the ritual of the kola nut, the ritual of having a meeting, the ritual of talking to the elders. All of these things are broken down. So where the book, though a novel, is also a bit of a documentary, right? So he teaches us more than we know. Like he's teaching us as he's entertaining us. So it's almost to say that this book wasn't even written for African peoples, but was written for Westerners like us to understand African society and maybe to stop thinking of Africa as a place of darkness and as a place that has no type of value, right? So that's the bigger themes. That's the cultural things you need to understand. Those are some of the things I want to see in exit tickets, some of the ideas I want you to kind of ponder over. Now, what you came for is you want to know how you can pass the class. You want the exit tickets. So Monday, we have a quiz. They're going to ask us about the first question they're going to ask us is going to be about his fears. He has a fear of weakness, right? And if we look on page 13, it'll help us answer question 1. So page 13 shows us even as a little boy, he had resented his father's failure and weakness. And even now, he still remember how he had suffered when a playmate had told him that his father was Ekbala, right? So they're going to ask us why he's feeling this attitude against being gentle, right? Why does he fear an attitude of being gentle? Well, because gentle is not something he associates with strength. So because gentle seems to be opposite of strength, he doesn't like it. He hates it. He hates the idea that his strength and gentleness clash. So he can't be gentle because it would mean that he wasn't strong. So for number 1, your answer is going to be on page 13. They're going to also ask us about the symbol of the yam. The yam is a very incredible, important crop in this book. The yam. It's just a sweet potato, guys. It's just the orange potato that we make like sweet potatoes pie, right? Same situation. So here in Okonkwo society, instead of exchanging gold or exchanging cotton bills, they exchange yams. The yams is their wealth. So the more yams a person has, the more wealth they have, right? So if you look on page 14, it's going to say he had long stacks of yams that stood out prosperously in it. The word prosperous, prosperously, or prosperity all relates to a person's wealth, all relates to a person's riches. So that's how you're going to have to answer that next question. The third question is going to be a part of a quote. It's a quote from page 14 where he berates his wife. And they're wondering why he chooses to berate his wife as he does. He tells her, "Do as you're told, woman." And he said, "When did you become the Ndiche of Umofia?" They want to know, they're asking us, what does this quote suggest about Okonkwo? Well, 2 things. He notes her gender. He says, "Do as you're told, woman." So when he says woman, he's implying her social rank, right? Because as we know, the men have most of the power. So reminding her of her woman ability means that you're below me. Then he says, "Do as you're told," meaning you need to obey me, and I don't really think you should be asking me questions. So that's pretty much how you have to think about that question. Like, why is he talking to her like that? And considering some of the words he uses and some of the things he says. Indishe means elders, another person of respect. So not only you're not a woman, you're also not an elder. You have no right to question me, one of the highest people in the village. Right? Does that make sense? I mean, you can shoot a thumb up or something. I don't know. But let me know if I need to slow down too. Another question they're going to ask you guys is, how does his fear fail? How does his fear fail him? Right? Like, we know he has a fear of failure. How does this counteract his ability to be respected? And mostly, it affects his family, right? So we learn on page 13 or 14 that he ruled. It says Okonkwo ruled his household with a heavy hand. His wives, especially the youngest, lived in perpetual fear of his fiery temper, and so did his little children. So what we know about Okonkwo is that everybody is afraid of him. Like, everybody is perpetually afraid of him. And at the end of the page, it says that Nwoye tended to get constant nagging and beating, and because of this, he was developing into a sad-faced youth, right? So one consequence of Okonkwo's fear is that his son is consistently being mistreated, and they have a very difficult relationship simply because he's afraid of his son appearing to be lazy and taking on traits from his grandfather. So these traits are making him afraid, and he's treating his son really, really harshly. Sometimes our parents do this, right? They're so afraid of what we may do wrong that they get stricter. They don't want you to get hurt at a party, so you don't get to go to parties, right? And things of that nature. So it's a similar concept, yet still, as a teenager, we can identify with that overbearing parent or that feeling of being overly controlled, and it's kind of making one sad. Um, they also asked us what Okonkwo was afraid of. So this has been the biggest thing. We know that he's afraid of failure. We know that he's afraid of weakness, and therefore he fears his own self failure. So those can be the answers. So one thing he isn't afraid of is like magic and like ghosts and spirits. So make sure you know that most of his fears are internal, things that he can control. He feels he can control. He doesn't have any external fears, right? He's not externally afraid of anything. So that's Monday. So I hope you took notes and you're ready. I'm going to try to save this stream so you can go back for Monday. On Tuesday, we're going to do a visual representation of Okonkwo. And a major thing about Okonkwo is to understand that his flaws are also some of his strengths, right? He's stubborn, but he's also ambitious, right? Like he's stubborn, he won't give up. But because he won't give up, he succeeds, right? He fears failure, so he works really hard, right? He's really violent and he's so angry, yet he's one of the greatest wrestlers in the 9 villages, and that brought him so much respect. So you want to make sure when you're doing Tuesday's assignments that you're thinking about that balance of that yin and yang. Like what makes him strong also can make him weak, and that most of the times that our strengths have that duality of being a weakness too. Like that's just the reality. Like the nature thing. Like you can be smart, but you can also be too smart for your own good. And yeah, Okonkwo has 3 wives, and Malik must let us know that he is a pimp. Thanks for joining us, Malik. Appreciate you being here. Wednesday, you're going to really break down those ideas into paragraphs. So they're going to ask you about his strengths and motive weakness, his strengths and flaws on Wednesday. So, for instance, what I wrote, Okonkwo's strengths and flaws act as motivation to his decisions. Okonkwo was possessed with fear of failure. This acted as a flaw that led him to present himself as perfect, right? For instance, so this is the part where that's my claim, right? Okonkwo's strengths and flaws act as motivation to his decisions. Okonkwo was possessed with fear of failure. This acted as a flaw that led him to present himself as perfect. That's my claim. The next thing I have to do, my second CFS, is to quote. So I say, for instance, readers learn, this is my quote. Make sure you're using your quotation marks. Okonkwo never showed any emotion openly. To show affection was a sign of weakness. The only thing worth demonstrating was strength. End quote. Yet, this same belief forced him to lead his family with an iron fist. Such an attitude led his family to fear him rather than respect him. So, as I'm doing this, you want to see how, yes, he's strong, right? And so that's great, but he doesn't want to fail and he's hardworking. And these are excellent things. However, they also make him be really mean to his family and make him have a strained relationship and getting to know them. So make sure you're considering those 2 points when you're thinking about his strengths and flaws and how they motivate his decisions, right? Because it's his strengths to be hardworking, but his flaw is not to consider that everybody can't be as hardworking as him. And so he takes out that frustration on his family. On Thursday, they're going to ask us to think about his relationship with his family and if it makes him sympathetic. Now, that's up to you guys. Like, if you feel like if he's sympathetic, simply means like, do you feel like you can identify with his character, that you can understand his character, that you feel comfortable or you almost like this character? That's complicated. Like for me, Okonkwo is so complicated. I can't really say if I like or dislike him. So I chose to qualify my answer. So instead, I said Okonkwo's relationship with his family is complicated. While some readers may not sympathize, he is, in some instances humanized. For one, there is his relationship with Nwoye. He's only 12, but his dad is really strict on him. Do we agree with this action? Not quite. However, we find this action to be something we can identify with in American society, right? So I choose a quote that shows how he's strong on his son. And then I can say that this is something I can identify with because I've saw it in American society and Western societies and other books, like in Afghanistani society. We see these actions, right? We also see him wishing that Nzima, his daughter, was a boy. He likes Nzima better, so he only wishes she was a boy. Though this attitude is sexist and misogynistic, which makes me say I don't sympathize with him, it also helps me identify and therefore humanize him. It makes me understand him better. So, because of all of this, I don't feel like I sympathize or not sympathize, but I can humanize him. So I chose to qualify my answer. Remember, when you do your Thursday exit ticket, you can always qualify, sympathize, or unsympathize with him. Just make sure you're using a quote, an analysis, and a concluding statement to draw that paragraph to a close. On Friday, we're going to walk away from our book for a few days, or for an hour, We're going to just think about our ACT practice and work on that. I'm not going to put it in a grade book, but we're just going to use it as an opportunity to really practice and hone in on some sharpen skills. So that pretty much takes us through the whole week. It explains some of those concepts. And when we come back, week after that, we'll be on chapter 7. So other than that, just read chapter 7 through 10 and you're going to be good to go. I have everybody's name here. I'll make sure to give you guys 10 points on tomorrow's exit ticket. At this time, you got any questions, any comments, anything you want to say? Let me know. I'll wait. You're welcome. You're welcome, DH. I'm not sure if you're Daryl or Dylan. Hey, Julian. Can we skip ACT? And if we skip ACT, then we have to do a quiz over chapter 7. Like the next thing they want us to do is a quiz. So what do y'all want to do? Or we can do vocab or we do the basketball game. Give me a thumbs up if y'all rather do the basketball game on Friday. It's up to you guys. But that means I'll have to, yeah, you can read chapter 7 through 10, but next is going to be not the week coming up, but the week after that. We'll have that Monday off though, so make sure you remember that. So Alve says she wants to do the vocab game. Anybody else wants to do it? I can go ahead and change that around. I'm not tripping. Only thing is I have to give you the so after the quiz tomorrow, then I'm gonna give you the vocab list so y'all can have it before we actually play the game because I always mess that part up. Okay, yeah, all right. All right, it's unanimous. We're gonna do the vocab game. Any other questions? The quiz is on chapter 2. It actually just focuses on page 13 to 15. I'm gonna save this video and you can go back and you think it through. You could take up the answers. If you have notes from today's tutorial, I'll let you use them on the quiz. Any other questions? Hey, you are late, but welcome. What is your initials and class period? Captain Betsy. Any other questions before we go home? We'll go back to our regular scheduled programming. Cool, welcome. Are we enjoying virtual tutorials? Was this helpful for everybody? Okay, that's good. Thanks, Julian. All right, well, cool. Perfect. All right, well, excellent. I'm glad it was helpful. Hope y'all got notes. If not, I'll try to save this video and make sure you guys can access it again. And then I'll see you guys on Monday. And I got all your initials. So, yep, that's it. All right. See you on Monday. Make sure you add +10 to your papers on Monday. Don't tell anybody why you're doing it. Just put +10 on your paper. I'll know why you put it there, and we'll make sure you get your grades in. All right. See y'all then. Bye-bye.